What is going on, everybody? Commander Legends Baldur's Gate is finally here, and we get to take a look at some brand new commanders along with some backgrounds. Let's go. What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Roxora, and here we do all things Magic the Gathering. Today we're doing another Commander decklist submission where I take a look at a decklist submission for EDH, talk about the Commander, the individual card choices, the overall strategy, and at the end I'll give it a rating out of 10. Today's decklist submission comes from Battle Brother B, friend of the channel, and he has made a brand new decklist featuring some of the cards from Commander Legends Baldur's Gate, which is a brand new set featuring a ton of cards dedicated to be in the Commander format. It's a very fun draft format. It kind of combines draft plus Commander. So I've had a ton of fun with it. I've played it a couple times now. Very, very fun. So if you like Commander or if you like draft or both, it's very fun. But there's a ton of these new commanders that can be featured, and so we're going to take a look at the one that Battle Brother B submitted. While we're at it, if you want your deck list reviewed, you can do so by submitting a link in the comments, but the best way to do so is by joining my Discord, and we have a dedicated channel just for deck list submissions, always taking suggestions, so make sure to leave those there. And while you're at it, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All right, now let's see what this brand new commander is. All right, so here is our brand new commander. It is Abdel, Adrian, Gorion's Ward, which is 4 and a white for a 4/4 legendary creature, human warrior. At uncommon, by the way, again, a lot of uncommons that are able to be commanders. When Abdel, Adrian, Gorion's Ward enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you control until it leaves the battlefield, and then you create 1/1 white soldier creature tokens for each permanent exiled this way. And it has this new mechanic, choose a background, which says you can have a background as a second commander. So we've got a second card here to take a look at, which is Candlekeep Sage, which is 2 and a blue. That's right, blue. For commander creatures you own, have when this creature enters or leaves the battlefield, draw cards. This set is filled with these legendary enchantments with the subtype background. And if you have a commander with the choose a background keyword, then you can have one of these also as your commander. The same rules apply for, if you have two commanders, just like with the partner mechanic or the friends forever mechanic. So this can be cast from your command zone, and then if it dies, you can recast it again for 2 more, and so forth. And it also counts as your commander identity. So this is essentially an Azorius deck. So these two cards work really well together, as you'll see in the actual deck list, because we can, have Abdel leave and come back in various ways. And every time you're doing that, you're going to draw a card from the Candlekeep Sage. So really, really cool way to kind of create some card advantage. So those are our two commanders. Let's take a look at the deck list. Okie dokie. So here is our deck list. We've got our commanders up here, as we said, and we essentially got here is a blink deck. We're blinking our dudes all over the place, and it works again really well with Abdel, where you can exile your own stuff, then exile Abdel, or flicker it in some way, and then your creatures with enter the battlefield triggers come back, and then Abdel comes back. And so Abdel works really well with flickering in this deck. That's mainly the thing that you're going to want to be flickering, but they also have a ton of nice stuff here. The one thing I will say before we get into the individual cards here is that if you see down here, the deck is a little expensive, it seems, but there is a Tundra here, there is Solitude here, there is some mana drains and stuff. So, and there's also Rhystic Steady. So some of these are not quintessential to the strategy of the deck. They're very good cards, don't get me wrong, but if you wanted to omit some of these and just run a pure kind of blink deck and not run a lot of these expensive cards, you totally could do that. There's definitely ways to do that. Again, if also you can take inspiration from the list. Cool. Just wanted to put that out there. All right, so let's go over the cards here. We've got a couple planeswalkers here with Narset and Teferi, just to be good cards. Definitely like Narset, preventing people from drawing cards. Teferi here seems, I won't say weak, but definitely seems a little out of place. Just, drawing cards is nice. Untapping lands so you can, do more flicker effects is nice. But Teferi here doesn't really do anything, to help with the core strategy of the deck. And also, you don't really want to be exiling it with Abdel, whereas Narset is a card that I would absolutely put under Abdel and blink, right? So you can get back its permanence. But Teferi is kind of a card that I want to be upticking as much as possible, getting as much loyalty on there and getting towards the ultimate. So not a bad card, it's never a bad card, but I wouldn't say he's the most synergistical, and I kind of like when that deck is more synergy based. For our creature slots here, we've got a Cloud of Fairies, which is really good at making mana. So as you're flickering with Abdel, you can untap lands. We've got Spirited Companion, just a good draw. More Wall of Omens for the same kind of thing. We've got a ton of these creatures. Cloud Concealer is the same. Flicker Wisp, of course, it is like one of the namesake cards in a Flicker deck. We've got Overseer that does very similar things to the other creatures, so not really going to go over those. Rishadan Cutpurse here is kind of spicy, I would say, in that you can blink it a bunch of times and make your opponents either pay mana or sack stuff, and if you can blink this many times per turn, you can really get your opponent, especially if your opponent taps out, right? They tap out on turn 5 for their big 5-drop or whatever it is, and you blink the Cutpurse over and over and over and kind of make them sack their whole board. So you can definitely, it has moments where it probably won't be good, but a lot of moments where it will be really, really nice. We've got Seagate Oracle here, Pauper All-Star, just kind of a good card to just get some card advantage going. Again, similar to these, but it lets you look at some cards and really get some selection. Soul Herder here, of course, blinking something every end step and getting counters. The counter part is nice, but really we care about the part that is just flickering something every end step. We do have the lines here with our Chaomancer plus wherever it is, Ghostly Flicker, right? So you can do that to kind of endlessly flicker, especially if you have something to generate mana. So in this case, could be Cloud of Fairies if you have a land that like makes mana. There are ways to do it. So we've got that. We've got Nevermaker here, which puts a non-land permanent on top of its owner's library. So really good, again, to just like have some kind of interaction. Here you can evoke it, but you don't really want that. Oh, this is when it leaves play. So actually you could evoke it, but yeah, you don't really just want to be playing this and flickering it. Yeah. Thoughts here, again, behaving very similar to a Soul Herder. Venser is great, again, for interaction. We've got a Mnemonic Wall, which is, again, behaves very similarly to our Chaomancer. Bowl Drifter, of course. Again, if you ever do that. Peregrine Drake is another, like, it could also be an Archaeomancer combo piece. It can also combo infinitely with Dead-Eyed Navigator. And Dead-Eyed Navigator, by the way, which I'll go to, is just really good in this deck anyways. Again, blinking stuff constantly. Riftling Cloudskate is great, just returns any permanent. That's right, any permanent. So you can start to bounce your opponent's lands with this. The Suspend is actually kind of nice, especially if you don't want to be spending 5 mana on it. If you ever have just like 2 mana left over in a turn, or if you're not doing anything on turn 2, it's a great card to have. Salvager of Secrets is the same as the Archaeomancers and everything. Aether Snipe here just returns a non-land permanent to the hand. It's got a really nice evoke cost. So again, if you have something like Cloud Shift to bounce your, to flicker your Aether Snipe, really good to do for just 4 mana. You get a 4/4 and a bounce. 2 bounces, by the way, right? That's when it enters. Yeah, 2 bounces. That's pretty good. And then, of course, the bane of everyone's existence, Agent of Treachery. I hate this card, but I'm not going to say don't play it. It's really good. That's why I hate it. Yeah, just get to snipe your opponent's creatures, and if you ever own 3 or more things, you'll get to draw 3 cards every end step, which means you're probably just winning the game anyways. All right, so that's it for the creatures. Pretty standard in the creature. I think there's nothing crazy here. There's a lot of these effects that draw cards, but again, that's okay because again, the main thing that you're going to be flicking here is Abdel, and so what you're doing here, what Brother B, I guess is I should say is doing here is just sticking it with as many of these draw effects to get to these blink effects that we have over here at our instance portion. And so yeah, so they just want to be playing the creatures, getting rid of them with Abdel, blinking Abdel, having them come back, draw more cards, and then Abdel makes more tokens and exiles them again. So you can do this all over again. So if you have, you know, two Wall of Omens, or sorry, a Wall of Omens and a Cloud Concealer underneath an Abdel, right? They've already come into play. They've drawn you a card. You Abdel, you make 2 tokens, which will count as like a card, kinda. And then if you use 1 Cloud Shift or anything like that to blink Abdel, those come back. You draw 2 cards. Abdel comes back, exiles them again, and you get 2 more tokens. So you can already see how much value this kind of deck can generate. All right, sorceries here real quick, and then we'll get to those instants. We've got Ponder for card advantage, Windfall for card advantage, Time Warp because Time Warp, there is, right, I assume there is a way to go infinite, maybe? Yes, I guess if you just like Archaeomancer plus, that's another way that you can go infinite with Archaeomancer plus Momentary Blink or anything like that, or even like, you know, Ephemerate. If you have, actually, yeah, Ephemerate just kind of does that. Yeah, that's a combo. Yeah, and then Approach the Second Sun here as just a win condition. If you are just drawing a ton of cards, the game going really slowly, you can just cast this, draw a bunch of cards using your blinks, and cast it again and win the game. All right, so for our instance here, we've got Brainstorm, Cloud for card selection. We've got Cloud Shift, Ephemerate, Aether Flux for 1 mana exile effects. Again, these have various, you know, activation conditions. This has got Rebound, which is really nice. This does a thing that we don't care about. They just care that they exile and return the creature back. Mystical Tutor to find any of our instants and sorceries. Path to Exile, Pongify, Swords to Plowshares for removal. Wash Away, Arcane Denial, Counterspell for counterspells. This all should be pretty self-explanatory. Cyclonic Rift because it's Cyclonic Rift. We've got Delay, Dovin's Veto. We've got Impulse here for some card selection. I feel like this is kind of the weakest card in the deck so far. Mana Drain, Momentary Blink for more blink. Displace, which is another effect, right? Return exile up to 2 creatures you control, then return them to the battlefield. And yeah, this is essentially another copy of Ghostly Flicker. We've got Fierce Guardianship for more counterspells, Generous Gift for more removal, Ghostly Flicker because it's Ghostly Flicker, and then we've got a Sphinx's Revelation here, which I really like, just being a good card draw spell, works well with Approach the Second Sun, and you can just like cast it and draw a bunch of cards. I don't know how much mana this deck is generating, but sure. Yeah, I would say the weakest card in here is Impulse. That doesn't mean I think it should be taken out. I'm just saying, like, that's the weakest card. I don't know if there's a stronger card that could be here. It could be more removal instead. I feel like there's a ton of card draw. You could have something like what's the card I'm thinking of? 2 mana, destroy the creature, draw a card, or even like the Clue Generator. What am I forgetting? Blanking on these card names. Y'all know what I'm talking about, or just any kind of removal. Really, it doesn't really matter. I don't think this is needed because you already have so many card draw spells like Ponder and Brainstorm, and then you should really, if your deck is working correctly, you should be drawing cards from playing your creatures. Okie dokie. We've got a couple of artifacts and enchantments here. We've got Alter the Brood, which when a permanent enters under your control, each opponent mills. So this is a way to win again with the Deny Navigator combo. This is a way to win with the Archaeomancer like loop that, you know, just infinitely flicker things. And otherwise, you know, it's not the best, but, you know, you're also just like putting permanents into play. But I really wouldn't play this unless you are comboing, because milling your opponent without completely milling them can sometimes be an upside for them. It can be a good, you know, can be helping your opponents. All right, so then we've got Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Azorius Signet here for ramp, as well as Talisman of Progress. And then we've got a one of Ichor Wellspring here, which works really well with Abdel. Again, it enters and draws you a card, and then when it's put into the grave, oh, it's only when it's put into the graveyard. This isn't good. I guess it's when it enters. So I guess, man, if this said when it leaves, oh, that'd be so good. But yeah, so it's okay with Abdel. It's still just an artifact that you can play, draw a card, put underneath. I kind of feel like then just like Prophetic Prism or something would be better, because at least Prophetic Prism like can fix mana. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really matter. So whatever you want to put here, as long as it's a 2-mana artifact that draws a card, you can do whatever you want. I guess if your opponent kills it, I guess, I don't know. All right, so then in the enchantment slots, we've got a ton of these like hate pieces, kind of. We've got Mystic Remora for some card draw. Intangible Virtue here gives creature tokens +1/+1 and vigilance. So you kind of have a little bit of a token support here, again, because Abdel is going to be making a ton of tokens. We've got Omen of the Sea for more blink. Reality Acid is really good. You put it on a permanent. It has vanishing, but you don't care because you're going to blink it with Abdel, and then when the Reality Acid leaves the battlefield, the permanent is sacrificed. We've got Ristic Study, as we talked about. I really like how Brother B put in this Anointed Procession. So this is a really good effect if you are using Abdel, because Abdel doesn't say non-token, importantly. It just says other non-land permanents. So you can actually target your own tokens when Abdel comes back into play. Those tokens won't come back, but you will be making double the amount of tokens that you were before. So if you have 4 tokens on the battlefield, you flicker Abdel, you're making 8, because you are counting those tokens as you are counting up the number of permanents exiled, and then you are doubling it. And then we've got Smothering Tithe here as, again, some just disruption or kind of taxing effect. Gets you lots of treasures. You can cast more stuff. Cathar's Crusade is really, really good here with Abdel. Again, if Abdel is making 5 tokens, you are putting 5 +1/+1 counters on each of your creatures. And remember, you can stack those triggers such that, you know, it works out in your favor. Nothing too crazy I can see from the lands here. There's Otawara. You know, if you have these, you know, and you're able to put them in your deck, definitely do so. They're really, really good. Castle of Interest, yeah, nothing too crazy about the lands, just a lot of fetch lands and a lot of things like that. Again, you could kind of tone down the mana base if you wanted, because again, it's just a 2-color deck, and you know, it's nothing too crazy. There's not any triple white, triple blue cards or anything like that. Mostly just cards you would normally play. All right, so that's all of the cards here. Let's talk about the overall strategy. It's just a blink deck. It's just playing good cards with good ETBs, playing Abdel, flickering those creatures, or sorry, exiling those creatures, bringing it back with Abdel when Abdel flickers, getting those ETBs once again, and then getting a bunch of tokens. So really, really interesting blink deck. You know, usually you think about blinking, you know, a bunch of different things or blinking everything, which you kind of are in this deck, but not really. Again, you're just really flickering Abdel most of the time, and making very, very wide boards with all of your 1/1s. And then, you know, if you're not winning, you know, with Cathar's Crusade or winning with Intangible Virtue, you can instead just combo kill people with the Deadeye Navigator combo or with the Archaeomancer, you know, Time Warp kind of deal, or Ghostly Flicker, you know, ton of different ways that you can do this. So yeah, really, really coolest. And by the way, all of these things allow you to have a very good interactive element, right? So there's a ton of, even though we have all these creatures here and this is what the deck is about, we have a ton of these removal spells and counter spells here, not just because we have Archaeomancer, but again, because we're not really focusing on having a lot of creatures and swarming the battlefield. We're having a couple creatures, blinking them and reusing their really good enter the battlefield effects. So again, we don't care about generating, you know, we're not making 10 copies of Agent of Treachery through some crazy means. We're just playing Agent of Treachery and then flickering it and using its enter the battlefield effect over and over. Excuse me. So I really, really like this aspect of, you know, you have the aspect of We are generating a wide board with Abdel and flickering our creatures, but we also have all these counter spells and control elements. Which again, if your deck is working well, you can rebuy with your Arcane Mensers, with your Mnemonic Walls and everything. So really well-balanced deck, and having a well-balanced deck like this is going to transition really well into Commander, where you'll have to respond differently to whatever the board state is. So if someone's going all out with creatures, or whatever, drawing a ton of cards, maybe you hold back, hold up some counter spells and whatnot. Or if someone is ticking up a planeswalker, maybe you are playing your creatures out, attacking and blinking, or generating a ton of tokens and attacking it down. Having those two different aspects and having those two elements of the deck work really well together and kind of coexist means that your deck can kind of adjust to different circumstances. All right. So I think that's kind of my spiel. I think, this kind of deck is also, by the way, very easy to understand. There doesn't have any of these crazy combos. Again, besides, the couple combos that I mentioned, playing the deck is very, very simple. Again, you're just trying to generate card advantage, lots of value town. So I really like this deck for, people who are just starting out and people who kind of want an easier time playing. Yeah. So, what would I give this list out of 10? I'm gonna say a 9. It's got kind of all of the things. I think there are a couple card choices that I would change. Again, I'm not sure about this impulse. I'm not even sure what I would change about the creature slot. I would change this Teferi to something else. Otherwise, personally, I like Cathar's Crusade, but I don't like Cathar's Crusade, but I think it's the best in this deck, definitely. So like it's not perfect. There are things that I would change, so I'm not going to give it a 10, but it's very, very close to perfect in my opinion. So I'll give it a 9. Really awesome deck that can compete in a variety of ways, in a variety of different play groups. So you're definitely okay to play this in a casual setting. Just, blink your stuff, don't combo, or you can also play it in a more competitive manner, trying to find all of your combo pieces, or blink Agent of Treachery and steal all your opponent's powerful stuff. So again, I like that aspect. I point that out anytime, there's a deck that can kind of be played as it's built, in a variety of different competitive settings. So yeah, really awesome list here from Battle Brother B. I'll leave this link in the description for everyone. But yeah, great list, and that is going to do it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, remember, leave a like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff would really help me out. And if you want to submit a deck list, that you can do so in the comments or at my Discord, also link in the description. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me, and I'll see you guys for the next video.